Here we go on the Poshmark. This is a pair of Dickies New Tags Girls Chino slacks that I got for, I think, $1.50 from a thrift store on a sale day. And I got, I think, around 50 pairs of Dickies, New Tags Dickies on that day. And they have just now started to sell in a slow trickle. A bunch of people mentioned in my comment section that these are probably going to sell, or were probably going to sell during the back to school season, which we're getting into. And I think that everybody was right. The brand here is All Saints. All Saints is a good brand. I would compare it to John Varvatos in terms of everything. Aesthetically, it looks pretty similar, and the values tend to be around the same. The sell-through on All Saints can sometimes be comparable, although in my experience, it is a little sluggish in comparison to Varvatos and the right pieces. For example, this shirt, the button-up shirt, flipped for 25 bucks after being up for many months. I would have anticipated this being a quick seller. It wasn't. You don't get it right all the time. This is one of those times. And like Varvatos, maybe the button shirts are not in as high of demand again. I would like to find a chunk of time, a large chunk of time, to do an update to the manifesto. A lot of people are asking for it. My time is stretched fairly thin right now. I'm trying to get to it. The brand here is Old Navy. Yes, you can make good money off of Old Navy. You can make good money off of Gap. You can make good money off of mall brands if it's the right piece, especially if it's vintage. I don't know if this was. This looks pretty Y2K-y to me. Even if it wasn't made in Y2K, it fits the aesthetic. Let's see if I included it as a keyword. I didn't. I should have. Cargo pants have remained fairly popular, fairly on trend for the past couple of years. This had a bunch of condition issues, flipped for, it looks like 25 bucks. A Duluth Trading Co. basic long sleeve t-shirt, really not even a lightweight sweater, just a women's medium purple t-shirt, flipped for 15. I love this brand. I've talked about this brand a whole lot, and it's just consistently a good seller for me. As with all brands, the more technical or nicer clothing will sell for more, especially if it's in season. Something basic like this will not sell as quickly or for as much. I think I got this at the bins. If you find it at the bins, and sometimes, or really every time I mention the bins, I get comments asking me what I mean by that. Bins equals the Goodwill outlet store. That's where they offload all of the stuff that doesn't sell or is not fit to sell in the retail stores, and you can buy it in bulk. You can buy it by weight. So the cost of goods is much lower, and I like the bins because would I pay $6, $7, $8, $9, $10 these days, really, at these Goodwills, at least where I live, for a Duluth Trading Co. shirt? No, I wouldn't. Would I pay like $1 for it? Yeah, I would. This jacket is from J. Crew. I like selling J. Crew jackets, especially when they are Loro Piana. Another tag that I have talked unto death. This is a really great tag to find. It adds a ton of value, even to something like a J. Crew, which already carries some freight in terms of desirability. J. Crew, pretty uneven, but the outerwear, the jackets, tend to do better or above average, I should say, in terms of formal wear. I know that's not the correct exact proper usage of formal wear, but we all know what I mean when I say that. In comparison to other mall brands, middle of the range brands, the Ludlow jackets have sold quite well for me historically. Another pair of these Dickies, they were new with tags. They're red. Red pants, I have tended to shy away from a little bit. I thought when I first started reselling that they would add more value because they were ugly-ish, and like ugly, tacky, loud tends to sell well in terms of clothing on eBay. That's kind of a good rule of thumb. Although you have to cultivate a little bit of knowledge and an instinct for the right kind of ugly. Not a lot of people wear bright red pants. Red pants, historically for me, have not sold as well as I would have liked them to, but these did. This brand is awesome. It's Rhone, R-H-O-N-E. I've talked about it before. I compared it to Lululemon. I think it's a good comparison. I actually, almost every time, if given the option, I would pick Rhone over Lululemon if given the choice for the same price. Rhone is much less common, and in my experience, it flips more quickly. This wasn't a lightning fast flip. It did sit for a while because I think I had it priced at like 80 or so. Still sold out of season. It was up for, I think, a couple months. It had a little run. Here's a good keyword that I don't hear people talking about a lot. When you see that on an article of clothing, that's called a run. It's a run. Flip for 65 bucks. I bought this for 15. So I paid up for it, but I knew that it was worth the investment. The Mr. Rogers Neighborhood proprietary cardigan, flip for 75 bucks. Would Mr. Rogers smile upon his name being merchandised in this way? Probably not. I got to meet Mr. Rogers one time when I was a little kid, and I should find the photo of that so I can scan it and make everybody go, oh. By the way, this is not all recent sales. This is since the last What Sold video, which was a while ago. My listing habit has really suffered in the wake of me running headfirst into a brick wall in terms of burnout and energy levels. So this is kind of what has sold despite my close to best efforts not to sell stuff. If you don't know how to make these thumbnails, I like an app called Pick Collage. I've tried a few of them. That's the one that I like. I think it costs $3. There may be a better one now. I found it like a year and a half ago or something. It's really quick, easy, definitely worth the $3 to get. Sometimes the pieces that you sell will greatly benefit from a collage like this because you can sell the salient factors in a thumbnail that they wouldn't see otherwise. Or maybe there's like something on the front that's significant and something on the back that's significant. Obviously, graphic t-shirts are a good case. It's good to be able to just show up front what it is that you have without relying on people clicking through to your ad. Click-through rates are pretty low on these apps. So just come with your cards face up on the table. 25 bucks. Rourke used to kick ass. It's okay now. It doesn't sell as quickly as it used to. It still fetches pretty good money. G-Star Raw is a fairly stalwart resale brand. It's a great pickup if you can find it at the bins, almost unconditional, as long as it's, it doesn't look like it was attacked by a bear or something. This is a small t-shirt, probably why it took a little while to sell. Size smalls do not sell as quickly as medium and up. The higher up you go in terms of size, the more quickly it is probably going to sell, especially with vintage t-shirts. This sold for 13. Great little bread and butter flip. This just sold on eBay right before I started recording. It is a Karen Scott, which is not a good brand, vest. The reason I sourced it, well, two reasons. One, it was at the bins, so it cost next to nothing. And two, it was this kind of plaid. This is called Blackwatch plaid. This black, navy blue, and dark green tartan plaid. The proper term is Blackwatch. If you can find Blackwatch in really nice brands like Brooks Brothers, that's the one that comes to mind because I found it before. I think I found a Black Label. What's the designer? Tom Brown, right? Thom Brown, Blackwatch, something or other, like a shirt. And I think the Blackwatch ad in the title did assist. Some people search for Blackwatch. This sold for 14.5 bucks. I'm happy with it. The brand is not that great. And Blackwatch sounds really cool. A book. I have been listing books. I had a stack of books sitting on my floor that I did list because I wanted to get them out of the way. And I'm in the middle of redecorating my apartment on top of everything. So I just wanted to create floor space. Anyway, I listed a bunch of books. This sold really quick. It's a vintage Beach Boys magazine, or a magazine to do with the Beach Boys that's in like an omnibus edition, sold for 33 bucks. Ships media mail, so shipping is pretty cheap. Got this at a thrift store. Someone left their whole collection of like new or new graphic novels, softcover and hardcover, a lot of rare stuff. I would have bought all of it, except it was all priced up. It was all at least $5. A lot of stuff was 15, 20, even 50 bucks. I did spend 50 bucks on one of them because it was really rare and I think it's worth like $2.50. This is, I don't remember how much I paid for it, probably 10, 15, maybe 20. Flipped for 77 and it flipped almost right away. It flipped within a few days of it being listed. It's a hardcover graphic novel. Look at that wood background. Wood background equals it's probably been in my inventory for like 2 years at this point. Banana Republic. I could do a whole video on Banana Republic and maybe I will. There's ways to kind of circumnavigate the assness of the brand to make some money with it. I've done okay with it over the years. It used to be easier to do that than it is now. It's just one of those brands that you can kind of get, I keep wanting to say green thumb. That doesn't make any sense though. You can get a banana thumb, a yellow thumb. You can get a yellow thumb for selling Banana Republic. One thing that helps that I've advocated for before is when you go into the brand tag, this is a vintage tag, so it doesn't do it. But if you find a contemporary one, the shirt will have the name of the cut, and a lot of the times it'll be really long. It'll be like 5 words, like the cut, the fit, the wash. And you can run searches on that string on eBay and figure out what the sell-through is for that like permutation of whatever it is. And then you have to factor in material and seasonality and color and buy cost, as you do with everything in clothing, everything in the whole world. Anyway, this was, I guess, a win because it did sell. Eventually, it didn't sell for all that much. I think it sold for like 14, 15 bucks. I think it sold finally because 100% linen. 100% linen is great to have in your store for summer. I have said this 100 million times on this channel. Really middle of the road or bad, some might say ass brands such as Banana Republic. 100% linen pieces from these brands will do way above the cut in terms of resale quickness and sometimes price when it's really hot, and it's really hot as you and I are both feeling. Basic pair of Levi's. I had the first photo with them backwards. For some reason, I don't usually do that. There's the photo that's supposed to be there. Sold for, what was it? I think 20, like 22 or something. 501s. I got these at the bin. I either got these at the bins or I got them for free somewhere. I don't remember. I would not spend more than like a couple bucks on these. Levi's, the common cuts like this are pretty blown out on the market. Again, I need to update the manifesto, but if you download the last version, I do have a breakdown of every single cut at the time that it was compiled, which was I think about 4 months ago, of what the relative like sell-through rates are for each of the cuts. 501s are some of the most common jeans that you find from Levi's. 501s and 505s I think are the most abundant and therefore the least valuable. But this is kind of a weird size, which is probably why I bothered with it, or I got it for next to nothing. Vintage is a different case. That's a whole other animal. If you find a vintage made in USA, 100% cotton pair of whatever cut, probably just pick it up. It's probably worth some pretty good money. I remember sourcing this one for $5, so this was 5 into 26. And again, it shipped medium mail. Medium mail ships at around $4, depending on if it's over a pound, it's like $4.17. If it's under a pound, it's like $3.70 something. I think that's still the case, maybe $3.80 something. I should remember these numbers, but I never do. So it's pretty cheap and interesting looking book. It's an academic book. It's not actually a, not academic, it's a nonfiction book about comics and not a graphic novel. Another book flip. This sat for probably 3 months, I think. It is by Eartha Kitt, who was an actress, no longer alive, I don't think. I know her primarily from the movie Ernest Scared Stupid because I watched that movie when I was 3 and I didn't sleep for a week afterwards. It was the scariest movie I've ever seen in my whole life. Anyway, she wrote a book. She wrote, I think, a bunch of books. Interesting person. This flipped for $42. I just took the best offer. That's fine. I probably paid like $1 for it. I don't care. Love selling Magic the Gathering books. As with everything, not all of them are worth picking up. Above average numbers of them are worth pretty good money. This sold for $32 on an offer. Another one that is way under 15 ounces, so it went for the cheapest possible shipping. Here's a shocker. This is Spiritual Gangster, which previously was like a very, very desirable brand for me. Maybe it still is. I haven't looked at the sell-through numbers. I was picking it up just unconditionally when I found it. I think I actually got this one at the bins. I think I got pretty lucky. It sat for a long time before it sold. Maybe because it had pilling on it. Another keyword for you. If you've ever wondered what to call that phenomenon, when it forms little balls on the fabric, that's called pilling. Some people call it piling. Those people sound weird to me. Went to a garage sale looking for vintage t-shirts. Found a big stack of vintage BMX, surf, and skate VHS tapes instead. This stuff can be worth some really great money. This sold for, I think, $30. I took an offer for $30. The prices that you see beneath the titles are not the actual sale prices. Those are the list prices. And untested. I sell lots of stuff untested. It's perfectly acceptable to do. I like to, well, of course, disclose that fact and also offer free returns. The only condition in which I will offer free returns, I'm not saying don't do that. I have decided not to do it with clothing. Plenty of people do it. It seems to work fine for them. I don't do it. I do it on untested electronics, CDs. Well, CDs are always tested because I have a CD player. I don't have a DVD player, Blu-ray player, VCR. I don't have any gaming systems here. So this is all untested. And I just offer free returns. Another graphic novel, this sold for full asking price, $19.99. That's what the comps told me I was, meant to list it at, to be kind of in the middle of the road, which typically I don't do, but the bottom of the market was like 11, 12 bucks. So I think this sold for full price just because it was in really good shape and it had the Mylar wrapping on the dust jacket. So it was pretty much new. I could have listed these as new. I tend to list new. I like under promise, over deliver. The opposite of that. So I think I listed it as like new or very good condition. I got this at a library sale. It's an Andy Warhol DVD, flipped for 40 bucks. DVDs are great to sell. They're fairly straightforward to sell. You can scan them. They're abundant. They are not heavily picked over typically, especially if you source outside of thrift stores, and you can find some pretty, good money. I've had really good luck selling Iron Man clothing, vintage or otherwise. It seems to sell itself pretty well. I think I sold this for around 15. So typically I price suits at around 100 bucks, like 99 bucks is my kind of default. I broke that rule for this suit because it was just so nice. And I think it was Laura Piana, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's the Gold Coast, which is a higher end line of Oxford clothes. There's the tag there. I got this for 10 bucks at a thrift store, sold for 140. And I was more than happy just to accept that, move it out the door. I spent 10 bucks on this shirt and I was kind of nervous to do so because I typically don't spend $10 on shirts. Or t-shirts, sold for 45 bucks. It's vintage. It's Leonardo Strassi, which had, evidence at hand on eBay that people wanted the brand. So I just rolled the dice on it and it worked. This sold for 34 bucks. I tend to avoid Wrangler, except in special circumstances. This is one of them. Pretty loud. Remember when I said ugly sells, tacky sells? This is what I mean. This kind of stuff. All over print. Horsies. Little horsies, and it's vintage. It looks like it's from the 90s. It's got horseshoes on it. Did have a couple condition issues, but it had the purple snaps. That kind of thing is going to be worth more money, be more in demand. You can ask more for it. Took, I think, a couple months to sell. Still sold for 34. These are great. I have been converted to picking up new tags, lower end chinos, slacks, dress pants when I find them for cheap. You can find them for like on sale days or at the bins. I pick them up. If you can price it around 25 bucks, if you can price it cheap and still turn a profit, I have had great luck just doing good, quick sales on this kind of pair of pants. Dockers, Hagar, even like Old Navy, fast fashion brands, seems to work. This one frustrated me greatly. It sold twice. It got returned. And then it sold for 24. So I don't know. I don't know how much money I really made with this. SSLR, I find it a lot. I don't think the brand is that great. The pattern itself sold it. The all over, upside down, for some reason, palm trees, flamingos. It's floral. It's bright pink. And it is women's. I don't remember. I think it said, women's collection on the tag. If you don't know how to differentiate, if you're looking at the shirt, if the buttons are on the right side and the buttonholes are on the left side, that's a women's shirt. Vice versa, it's men's when you're looking straight at it. This sold for 25. It's a heavy pair of wool pants. I moved it for 25 because I got it from the bins, so I didn't have a whole lot into it. Pair of military pants. Took some research to figure out what this button scheme is called. It's called Cracker Jack pants. Striking fear into the heart of our country's foes, wearing Cracker Jack pants. And they were, I think, maybe vintage. 32 are like heavy wool lace up. I think these are for parading around. this was gratifying. I sat on this for probably like 2.5 years or something. So I finally sold for 17 bucks. It's and we're out of space. That was a boutique coffee something or other in Austin, Texas. Someone bought that for 17. People have complained about the storage limit on my phone. I don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry. This is the end of the video. Thanks for watching.